Hello everyone, I'm starting theme 6 of class 12, History, Bhakti-Sufi traditions. So as we used to practice every time, I will start with a question for the topics once again. So as we scroll down, we are on the first page itself. So for this part, you can take down a question. And the question is, give a brief descriptions of the new sources of history from 8th to 18th century. So now we are asked to give some kind of description about the sources which were used for studying the tradition, okay, Bhakti-Sufi traditions from 8th to 18th century. So we have to see what kind of sources were provided. Now when you talk about this period exactly was a period which was given, or the name particularly, this period was a period of poet saints, because these poet saints have done several things for the regional languages. They have written poems, they have written poetries, they have written different types of hymns and all, and it was basically taught to other people, or passed on to other people orally, and it was written in such a way that common people could understand. Now some of these compositions were turned into music or set into music, and they were documented by the disciples of the poet saints. At times what happened is that because this tradition was not very rigid, Bhakti-Sufi tradition was not very rigid, so what happened was that the people who exactly passed on the tradition from generation to generation, they tend to pass the original message, but they brought some kind of changes, or while passing on the message orally from one person to another person, or from one generation to another generation, they left some of the ideas, and the ideas which basically seems to be very problematic and little bit it is not irrelevant, or which is not exactly correct with the political view, all these things, they just have to they just forgot that. When I say forgot, means exactly they don't want to pass on this type of ideas, so they just remove these things from the original message. Now the historians also, in order to understand most of the Bhakti-Sufi tradition, they have to learn something, or they have to draw up some of the ideas from the hagiographies, or we can say biographies, autobiographies written by saints or their followers. And sometime what happened was that this, whatever was written, may not be accurate, but though it was not accurate, it allows them, or it gives them some kind of ideas by which devotees can live the life in the path, or the path which is shown by their poet or poet saints. It can be good for anyone, maybe women, or it can be good for men, but as it is said, this may not be literally very accurate, but it allow a glimpse into ways in which devotees can perceive the lives of these path breaking women and men. Now all these poet saints may not be only men, these are men, these are women, so whoever want to follow, they can follow this. And how do they understand all these things? Just by reading some of the hagiographies or the biographies written by the poet saints. So this is all about the first part of your chapter. So we are on the first part, or first topic of the chapter, a mosaic of religious beliefs and practices. Under that we have the first subtopic, that is 1.1, the integration of cults. So for this topic, you just take down a question. The question is, explain with example what historians mean by the integration of cults. So as we go through this part, we came to know that historians have suggested that there were two processes at work in order to understand what is integration of cults. Number one is that dissemination of the Brahmanical ideas, They were compiled and composited in easy and simple Sanskrit. And the other one is the process under which the Brahmins accepting and reworking on the beliefs and practices. Now when you look at this, you will see that really many beliefs and practices were getting new shapes by regular conversation which took place between common people throughout the land. One of the examples of the above mentioned practices can be seen from one of the evidence, that is at the temple of Jagannath Puri. The main deity was recognized as Jagannath, and the other name also indicates that it was a form of, or the Jagannath is a form of Vishnu. Many local gods, their statue, were created by woods and stones. The goddesses were also in form of stone and wood. The local deities were incorporated with Puranic framework. They were identified as wife of the principal male deities, Lakshmi, now that is wife of Vishnu, Parvati, wife of Shiva. 1.2 Difference and conflict. So this is our next topic. So for this you can take down a question. The question is, give examples of differences and conflicts between religious beliefs and practices during 8th century and 18th century. Practices of tantric worship were widespread in different parts of subcontinent. Now people who believed in tantric worship did not pay their attention towards the difference of caste and class. By such concept, Shaivism as well as Buddhism were affected in eastern, northern and southern parts of the subcontinent. The main deities of the Vedic temples were Agni, Indra and Soma. They became marginalized images and seen in textual way very rarely or seldomly. Now the devotees of Vedic values condemned the practices which had gone beyond the closely controlled contact with divine through chanted mantras, who were engaged in tantric practices, and they ignored the authority of the Vedas. Then the dedicational worship had been for a long period, 1,000 years before the period. The routine way of worship of god and goddesses within temples to get a type of exalted feelings to adorn themselves in the state of insensibility. Poems of prayer. This is our next topic. So under this we will see that many poet saints were developed as leaders along with the community of followers. Brahmanas were stayed important mediatory between gods and devotees in many forms of bhakti. It means that whenever we pray, whenever all of us we pray, we just can't do all the needed rituals on our own. Now in order to connect us with the God, we need one middle person. Now this is the connection between God and us. So who is that? The Brahmana. So that is why it is said that Brahmanas stayed as a important mediator between God and the devotees. Then all these traditions reconciled and admitted the women and lower caste categories, and they considered these as disqualified for liberation with the orthodox Brahmanical framework. Under Brahmana style, as it is said that this are not considered as the legal people, or these are not considered as a correct people to be to come in touch with the Brahmins or Brahmanical way of living, that is the women, lower caste or categories. Now they are not really taken as a part of Brahmanical framework. Another thing that you will come across in this part is that historians of religion classify the bhakti tradition into saguna. Now saguna means with attributes. With attributes means we have some kind of idol or idol worship or image worship is there. And another one is the nirguna. Now without attributes. Now when you say without attributes means we don't have any idol worship and all. That is what. Now as it is written in the book that the former include tradition focus on worships of specific deities. As I said, nirguna and soguna. Now remember the word. Now saguna. Saguna means we have a specific deities, whereas nirguna means we don't have any kind of deities. Now Vishnu and his avatars, that is avatars incarnations and forms of goddess or Devi, all were conceptualized, as in a form of saguna. Now nirguna bhakti on the other hand was the worship of the abstract form of God. Now saguna includes the tradition which focus on the worship of special deities, whereas nirguna, they don't pray to the special deities, but they say that God is present anywhere and it does not have any shape, size, or it doesn't have any kind of form. So that is the meaning that we got under this part, that is poems of prayer and early traditions of bhakti, right? The Alvarez and the Nayanars of Tamil Nadu. So this is our next topic. So for this topic, you just take a short question. The question is, who are the Alvarez and Nayanars of the Tamil Nadu or Tamil Nadu? So in a simple way, I'll just write this part in 5 points. Alvarez were devoted to Vishnu, whereas Nayanars are devotee of Shiva's. Now they travel from one place to another, then singing the songs of praise of God. Alvarez and Nayanars recognize certain religious places as abodes of devotional deities, and many big temples were constructed at holy places. They had become pilgrimage centers. They sing the religious song of poet saints, and this became a part of temple rituals in such shrines. So this is all about Alvarez and Nayanars. In a simple way, I just gave you 5 points, so you can just elaborate it if you remember it. So anyways, let me explain you one more time. The Alvarez and Nayanars of Tamil Nadu, these are basically the devotees. Now both Alvarez and Nayanars, they have different gods as their follower, or we can say they follow different gods. Alvarez, they devoted their life towards Vishnu, whereas Nayanars, they devoted their life towards Shiva. Now both, that is Alvarez and Nayanars, they travel from place to place, and as they travel from place to place, they sing the songs of praise of God. Now both Alvarez and Nayanars recognize certain places, means they went to some places, they found that this place can be the place of God, and they regarded that as the abode of devotional deities. And then wherever they went, if Alvarez have decided that this area is suited for my God, that means they set up one temple for the deity, that is Vishnu. And if Nayanars found some areas where they say that I feel that this area is best suited for my God, that means now there will be a temple on where Shiva will be the main, it will be constructed in the name of Shiva. Then many big temples were constructed at the holy places, and now these holy places became the pilgrimage centers. Now in the pilgrimage centers, what happened here is, now they used to sing the religious songs of poet saints, and singing religious songs of the poet saints became the part of the temple's rituals in this type of shrines, as they used to worship the saint or the gods in these temples, right? Attitudes towards caste. So this is our next topic. For this, you can take down a question. Discuss the ways in which the Alvarez, Nayanars and Virashavyas express critics of the caste system. So here we will talk about like how Alvarez, Nayanars and Virashavyas, they brought down the the caste system. Brought down means they wanted to show that this is not correct or that is not correct. So okay, let's see now what is this all about. So as we all came to know that Alvarez and Nanas were the bhakts or saints of the Tamil Nadu. The Alvarez, they devoted their life towards Vishnu, whereas Nanas, they devoted their life towards Shiva. Now we already had done in the previous part that they traveled from place to place and sang hymns in praise of gods. As they traveled from place to place, they built many temples at sacred places, and later on these temples developed into centers of pilgrimage. Now the problem is this, that caste system is there, so everyone will not be allowed to enter these temples, everyone will not be allowed to see the god. So now this is where Alvarez, Nanas and Virashaivyas will say something about our system, that is caste. Some historians stated that Alvarez and Nanas started a movement against the caste system. They protested against the dominance of Brahmins. Now both the Alvarez and Nanas, they really dislike that Brahmins are given a very prestigious position in the society, because these people, they dominate the society and wanted to reform the caste system. That means Alvarez and Nanas, they really don't like these Brahmanas and they want to reform the caste system. They want to throw away the caste system. That is why all the saints or bhakts belonging to different caste and social strata of life, means belonging to different strata, means divisions of life, they are all welcome here. Okay, they are all welcome as a bhakt of Vishnu and the Shiva. That means Alvarez and Nanas, they have no issues if they become any of it. That means either you want to be a Nana or Alvar, they have no issues. They say that everyone can be a devotee of God, but they really dislike the Brahmanas' way of living. Then they range from Brahmanas to artisans and cultivators to untouchables. Now this caste system, according to Brahmana, what they have divided is very different. That means the Brahmanas, they say that we have a range of society, and the society, it's from artisan to Brahmanas and cultivators to untouchables. Now when you say untouchables, means they are not allowed to enter any of this place of worship. The compositions of Alvarez and Nanas were as important as the Vedas. Now their main anthology, or when it's a collection of compositions, was the Nalayira Divaya Parmandham, that is in Tamil. Okay, it's because Alvarez and Nanas, they are basically from Tamil Nadu, so they sing, write, and whatever composition was made, it was in Tamil language. So this is a word which is in Tamil only, Nalayira Divaya Parmandham. Now which was described as the Tamil Veda. In other words, this work of the Alvarez was considered as important as the Vedas. Now the Virashaivyas belong to Karnataka and they are the followers of Vasavana. They challenge the Brahminical social order and the idea of caste. And these people also, they don't welcome this Brahminical style of living. They also oppose the pollution. When you say pollution means untouchable theory attribute to certain groups of Brahmins. So this is what we have learned from the attitude towards caste. That means both Alvarez, Nanas and Virashaivyas, they are against the Brahmanas, and they are against Brahmanas because the Brahmanas have a different type of framework where they have divided the society into different sects, and this sect basically has got one sect which is known as untouchables, which is very much disliked by the Alvarez, Nanas and Virashaivyas. They say that this type of thing should not be there in while praising God, or when you pray, or when you sing, or when you do something for God. Okay, all are equal in the eyes of God. That is what the Alvarez and Virasaivas wanted to pass on.